All right, I love hearing all of our fellowship and our chatter before service. We're going to say good morning to those who are with us, those on the way, and those on Zoom. We're going to get started like we do every week by welcoming in our light. Big thanks to our tall acolyte this morning. And now we will warm our space up with song and music. Please stand as we sing through How Great Thou Art. Oh Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe displayed. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. When through the woods and forest glades I wander and hear the birds sing sweetly in the trees, when I look down from lofty mountain grandeur and hear the brook and feel the gentle breeze, then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art.
When Christ I think that God his Son not sparing sent him to die, I scarce can take it in that on the cross my burden gladly bearing, he bled and died to take away my sin. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art, how great thou art, how great thou art.
Good morning, Harbor. Say good morning to your neighbor.
Right? It's like there for the recording.
Oh, yay. As we welcome more guests in here, as we continue our good mornings to each other, make your way back to your seats as it's comfortable as we move into our next song this morning, Living Waters.
Are you thirsty? Are you empty? Come and drink these living waters. Tired and broken, peace unspoken, rest beside these living waters.
Christ is calling, find refreshing at the cross of living waters. Lay your life down, all the old gone, rise up in these living waters. There's a river that flows with mercy and love, bringing joy to the city of our God. There our hope is secure, do not fear anymore. Praise the Lord of living waters.
Spirit moving, mercy washing, healing in these living waters. Lead your children to the shoreline. Life is in these living waters. There's a river that flows with mercy and love, bringing joy to the city of our God. There our hope is secure, do not fear anymore. Praise the Lord of living waters. Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Are you thirsty? Are you empty? Come and drink these living waters.
love, forgiveness, vast and boundless.
Christ, He is our living waters. There's a river that flows with mercy and love, bringing joy to the city of our God. There our hope is secure, do not fear anymore. Praise the Lord of living waters. There our hope is secure, do not fear anymore. Praise the Lord of living waters. All right, yeah, amen. Please be seated.
Amen. Thank you, praise band. It is, Pat, a fun song. Good morning, church. Good morning, and welcome to those who are joining us on Zoom. We will begin this morning with a very special call to worship. It is actually adapted from the Delight song of, I'm going to get a little closer because the words are, I'm sorry, the Delight song of Sal Talib by N. Scott Mamadeh. I wanted to make sure to pronounce the name correctly, so I needed to get a little closer. Please join me in reading the bolded words. I am a feather on the bright sky. I am the blue horse that runs in the plain. I am the fish that rolls, shining in the water. I am the shadow that follows the child. I am the evening light, the luster of meadows. I am an eagle playing with the wind. I am a cluster of bright beads. I am the farthest star. I am the cold of dawn. I am the roaring of the rain. I am the glitter on the crust of the snow. I am the long track of the moon in a lake. I am a flame of 4 colors. I am a deer standing away in the dusk. I am a field of sumac and the palm blanche. I am an angle of geese. Guy. I am the hunger of a young wolf. I am the whole dream of these things. You see, I am alive. I am alive. I stand in good relation to the earth. I stand in good relation to God. I stand in good relation to all that is beautiful. You see, I am alive. I am alive. Amen. We don't have any birthdays this week, somehow, every week we have a birthday that we celebrate, but we do have a special celebration after church today. We have our congregational meeting, which I'm sure Pastor Sadie will talk some more about, but I hope that you will all join us for that. There will be pizza. That will make you stay, right? Pizza. There'll be pizza and lunch right after church. Don't miss it. I would like to call up our children and youth for a moment before children's church. Oh, Azalea's not here today. I know. What? Good morning, friends. How are you doing? We doing good today? Yes, I see some nodding heads. Did we have some friends start school today? Or this week, I should say? Yes, we did. Are we tired from the first week back at school? Yeah, okay. Well, I'm glad that you're here. And we're going to talk about something new starting this week. Well, sometimes before something new starts, something has to end. First, you have the end of a school year, and then you have summer, which we miss already. And then you have the start of the school year, right? In children's church, we have the end of our church year today. So it's the last day of our church year for Children Worship and Wonder program, which means that next week we start something new. Can we think of anything that ends and then begins again?
I do.
What do you think, Simone? Let me give you a microphone. Something that ends and then starts again. Did you start anything new recently?
Yes.
What did you start new?
I start new about school.
Did you start a new grade?
Yes,
What grade are you in now?
I'll be in 3rd grade.
3rd grade. That is such a big kid grade. And last year, you had a different grade. Anyone else here have a new grade this year? Everyone should raise their hand because everyone has a new grade. And so we're going to talk about endings and beginnings. Some of you might have a compost bin at your house, or you know that we have one here at church. And in a compost bin, we put things that are done, that have ended, either plants or leftover foods or things. We put them in there to get them ready for something new. Many times, or usually what the compost is used for, is to be put into plants. And that helps feed it and become new. So many things are cyclical. Do we know that word? That's kind of a big word, like a circle. Can we think of our church calendar in our children's room? It's a big circle, isn't it? So right at the end is also the beginning. Many things in life are like that. And so when things get hard, we know that they're bound to get better again. And we're going to be right back around to that. Are we ready to have our last day of this year in children's room? Yeah, let's worship. You ready, Simone? We have a special mission moment this morning with Macy Whitesell. Yes, you're welcome.
All right. So I'm going to read off my phone. Lately, we've been talking about giving service, doing stewardship in our church and in our community. If you're new, that's kind of what we've been talking about for the past couple months. That's what we're going to be talking about, is how we build this community together. So today I want to talk about one of the things that you can give that you already have on you, and that is your voice. We just sang some lovely songs together, and I heard your voices. You sounded beautiful, by the way. I want to talk about why it's important to use not only our physical voice, but also our conceptual voice, our unique point of view to give to this community, why it's important that you are heard and that we all share together. So let's do a little check. I want you to raise your hand if you have ever held back from yelling or screaming when you needed to. Okay. Raise your hand if you've ever held your tongue when someone said something really bad about you and you wanted to say something really bad back at them. Okay, that's most of us. All right, raise your hand if you've ever held back from talking about something that you were really excited about because you thought someone might judge you for it. Okay. And last but not least, raise your hand if you've ever not sung in church because you're nervous about what your voice sounds like. Okay, now I see some hands going up a little slower on that one. That's fine. In this building, your voice, both of them, your conceptual voice and your physical voice, are just as important as each other. We're going to have a congregational meeting after church. It's important that as part of our congregation, you show up to give your voice. We want you to be part of this community. It's not the same if you don't share what you think. Same as when we sing our songs. It's not the same when your voice is missing, even if you don't think that you're adding something because of the way you think you sound. In our gathering song last week, which was Gather Us In, there's this line that says, give us the courage to enter the song. And I realized that I am a music teacher, and so maybe my courage kind of had to be left behind in 4th grade, and where my embarrassment is. But you can have the courage to enter the song. I know it's scary, I know it is anxiety-inducing, but just like screaming, just like telling someone that they treated you poorly, telling someone about your interests, holding back your physical voice is dangerous to your conceptual voice. Holding back from speaking out loud, from singing out loud, from expressing the way that you feel gives a connection back right back to your brain, saying that this brain doesn't deserve to be heard. And so you teach yourself when you're quiet and when you hold back that that's the way you need to be. So I want to do a little exercise for a couple of us who maybe have not made noise in this space before, because it can be super uncomfortable. I notice when the kids run in and out, they like tiptoe and whisper, but you can still hear them, which is very sweet. But they tiptoe and whisper, they're trying to be respectful, but they're not afraid to like yell. They're not afraid to be heard in this space. So we're going to do something just 2 times. It's going to be super, super easy. I'm going to ask Seaton to play. Can you play a C major 7 chord? I want you to just listen to those notes. I want you to pick one note. It doesn't even have to be one that he's playing, just something that comes to mind. And I want you to just sing, ah, on that note. We're going to do it 2 times, okay? It doesn't have to be loud. Doesn't even have to be heard from the person next to you, but I want it to be an authentic expression of what you're feeling now. Try 1 time, then a 2nd time. Here we go. Ready, set, go. That was beautiful. That sounded lovely. I want to do it again. Now this time I'm going to encourage you to be not so lovely. Be a little uglier with it. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Heck yeah. Oh, that was beautiful. Okay. There is absolutely no more ice on this space. There is nobody's voice that hasn't been heard in this space now. So if you're not singing, I want you to think about maybe it's me. Maybe I feel uncomfortable. Maybe you need to find a little space to make yourself comfortable. Maybe you need to just get that outlet. But we want to hear you. We want you to have the freedom to express, to be heard. And right now, as Seaton's going to play something for our giving time, I want to think about our physical gifts that we will give. One of them is your gift of your time. In October, our choir is going to be singing a performance with another church. We're going to combine, we're really excited about it. So when I ask Seaton to play, if you'd like to get some information, it's over here on the table by Ackelson. But right now, we'll hear a little bit of music as we give our physical tithes and our offerings. Thank you very much, church.
Let's thank Macy for that lovely message. Good morning. How is everyone today? It's good to see your faces and just be present with you in this space. We have a special day today. We're going to be hearing from our Blue Theology intern, Natalie, in a little bit. I know, aren't you all excited to hear from her? I know I am. She's prepared some beautiful messages for you all today, but first we're going to just show up together and offer our prayers into the space. So I would like to ask if there's anyone who has a prayer they'd like to lift up this morning for our community. Pat, I'll start with you.
Thank you. As you notice, I'm flying solo today. Now that Azalea's dad has gotten a place established where she can stay on the weekends, it frees up Teresa to go out and live her life again.
Good.
So just prayers that she makes wise choices and has a lot of fun.
Thank you. We'll be praying for Teresa.
It's been 7 years that she's really been out and had a good time.
Yeah, she's been a wonderful mother, hasn't she? Yes, so she deserves a break. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We do miss Teresa when she's not here, though. Lauren.
Well, we can stay on that theme. I had the absolute joy of watching my niece, the daughter of my best friend of over a decade, last night for 5 hours, and that was such a joy and very humbling, and I'm very sore today and very tired, and that's my prayer today, is lifting up all parents, but specifically moms. I don't know how you do it.
It is such a joy, but it's a challenging joy, isn't it?
Thank you. Mine's on theme. I have a single mom girlfriend who texted this morning and said that her second child, who is potentially her hardest, but both of her teens are having a hard time, has conspired with her mother to try to move in with the mother out of state for a year. And my friend is like really struggling with what to do. And her name is Laura, and her daughter's name is Lazuli. And I really want what's best for their family. And it's not clear. So, thy will be done.
Thank you, Caroline, for your heart. Let's be in prayer for Laura and Lazuli. Beautiful names. Anyone else?
Well, I want to pray for Natalie, who's going off into the big world and going to start living her life and walking her path. And I just wanted to thank her for all her passion and her leadership and her excitement around the Blue Theology and bringing that to the kids. And I just wish her the best going forward. And thank you for the time you gave us here at Harbor. I appreciate it very much.
I'd like to go off of that. I just want to thank each and every one of you for welcoming me into this community. And it just feels like such a loving space. And not every church is like that. So I'm just really grateful that I was welcomed here. And just thank you all for all of your hospitality, kindness, and love.
We're going to miss you. All right. Other prayers? Heather, did you have one? Yeah?
Just some prayers for my mom, who's in Arizona. She developed another DVT, which is a blood clot, this week. And it was, of course, not straightforward with 2 ER visits to get it diagnosed properly finally. But she's back on medication and taking it easy with the balance of also still moving around so it doesn't get worse. Just keep her in your prayers. It's very frustrating to her. It's on the back of her knee, so she feels unsteady. She's using a walker to get around for a few days at least. So,
All right, we'll be in prayer for your mother. Go ahead.
I'll share something happy from our family. On Friday, I returned from Catalina Island, where I was working as a camp counselor at another camp. That was the 5th summer camp this summer that I've worked at as a counselor or instructor. And it was just the best summer, being able to hang out with all of the kiddos. And, they all go home and tell their parents, like, that was the best week of my summer. And being able to be a part of that for, like, over 200 kids was just the best thing ever.
Oh, what a blessing. What a blessing, Gabriella. And you are such a blessing to them. They couldn't do these camps without people like you. Thank you. Lindsay.
So just simple, but yet whatever. It's my husband is just not feeling good, and several months ago he was sick for like 3 months with like a cold, and just had no energy and headache, and anyway was sleeping all the time. So anyway, it's only been like 2 days, but he's feeling really down, like afraid that it's gonna be like that again. So anyway, he's just home and sleeping, but yeah, it's not a huge deal, but it weighs heavy.
Yeah.
So
It does weigh heavy. We've all been through those moments in our lives that are, not you, where we just can't seem to feel well. So we're going to be praying for Jason that this time is a much shorter time period for him. Are there other prayers? Okay, I've got here, here, and here. Seton, do you have a microphone? You go first.
Yes. Please pray for me today and tomorrow, 2 slightly hectic days. Today I am getting an MRI done. I had a surgery about 2 years ago and it never healed properly. So I'm getting an MRI to make sure that everything is safe and healthy. And I'm slightly nervous. And then tomorrow, 2 things. One, I have a credential exam, which is very big, and I really, really hope I pass it. I've been studying very hard this past week for it, and it is also my first day of classes, like many of our youth here. So please just pray for me in this new season of my life. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Seton. Thank you so much for sharing. We're going to be praying for you for the MRI today as well.
I'm Tammy, and this is Seth. And I want to thank you guys for opening your home to Natalie. Natalie stayed with the Earnhardts during her time working here, and we appreciate it so much. And I really loved the relationship she got with you. And just thank you so much for doing that. It's very generous of you.
Thank you, Tammy. Yeah, I know. I think the Earnhardts are kind of sad that you're not going to have Natalie with you for a while now. All right, Justin, did you have something, or you were just pointing out Seton? Did I miss anybody? Remember the message from Macy, that our voices matter, and that speaking our voice out is courageous and always leads to a space where we've brought something up from in ourselves, and that's what we're looking to do. Anyone else? Rhoda, I knew there was going to be one more. And then we're going to turn to Zoom. So Zoom, get ready.
I just want to thank you for your prayers and tell you how I'm doing with the cancer. I have to work up to have the medication once a day. For the whole week, and I'm up to 5 days a week. And I'll start 5 this week, and then I have 6 and 7 to work up to the 7th. So thank you for your prayers. It's really hard, but the highlight of my week is coming here to church, and that keeps me going.
We love
Thank
you, Rhoda. We love you. We're so glad and so proud of you for how you're doing with your treatment. It's amazing. And those of you who are new, Rhoda's 98, and she's amazing. And so she's like our life goal, to be like Rhoda at 98. All right, Zoom. Does anyone on Zoom have a prayer from Janelle? Please pray for my mom who was diagnosed with a narrow heart valve. She will be having a valve replacement surgery soon. Janelle will be praying for you and for your mom and your whole family. And then from Annabelle, prayers for our son Michael, who's moving to Los Angeles at the end of the month. Big transition. We will be praying for Michael, Annabelle. Are there other prayers on Zoom? From Noelle. Looks like you have another person. Is this your sister, right? Okay, Noelle. Some of you don't know that Natalie has a twin sister, so this is her twin sister. Prayers over this community that has welcomed my sister Natalie so warmly. It has been a joy to hear from her as she has grown during this season with you all. Oh, thank you, Noelle. And we can't wait to meet you one of these days. We've been promised by Natalie that she's going to bring you to meet us one of these days. Anyone else have a prayer on Zoom? Okay. Let's just take a moment together and let's pray. Will you guys just kind of put your feet on the ground? Some of you have your shoes off. If you want to kick your shoes off, remember, this is holy ground, so it's okay to be barefoot. And let's just breathe together. I want you just to take a moment and feel the air come in through your nose and reach all down into the deep parts of your body. And as that air gets into those deepest parts, I want you to just bless it. And remind yourself that you are filling your lungs with the spirit of life. And what a precious thing that is. As we pray together today, I want you to continue to breathe deeply as a prayer. Spirit of life, God, Creator, today we give thanks for you, for this earth, for one another, for all the beings, the human beings and the non-human beings, for the earth, rocks, trees, water, forest, for all of it. Because in this vision of creation that you have set into being so long ago, we get a glimpse of your wholeness. We get a glimpse of who you are, and we are so grateful. Creator God, you've heard us lift our prayers this morning, prayers for our individual lives, for the hurts and the wounds, for the fears, for the things that we are anxious about. You've also heard us lift prayers for others in our community who we feel concern over, who we feel love for. We ask that you hold those prayers, that they're tender in your heart. We also this morning have heard joy shared. Joy gathered up at camp with Gabriella, laughter of children, gratitude of children, life-changing experiences, and we're so grateful. We're also especially grateful today for Natalie, for her work with this community, for her dedication, her care, her quiet presence that is really profound. And so in our prayer time today, we want to all just take a moment and visualize Natalie and just give thanks for her. Give thanks for her time and her presence and her heart, for the ecology of this earth, and for how she knows and has known for a very long time that this earth represents the love of God. And so it's for her today that we are especially grateful. We lift her up. We bless her, and we are so grateful that we're going to get to hear a message from her. And so God, in all your wisdom, you gave her to us this summer, and we are so grateful. It's in the name of your Son, Jesus the Christ, that we pray. Amen.
Please stay seated and join in singing, practicing a little bit of what Macy has challenged us with, or Enjoy, come thou fount of every blessing.
Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet sung by flaming tongues above. Raise the mount I'm fixed upon it, mount of thy redeeming love.
Here I raise to thee an altar, hither by thy help I'm come, and I hope by thy good pleasure safely to arrive at home. Jesus sought me when a stranger, wandering from the fold of God, he to rescue me from danger interposed his precious blood. Oh, to grace, how great a debtor daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy goodness, like a fetter, bind my wandering heart to thee. Prone to wonder how I feel in, prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, oh, take and seal it for thy courts above. Here's my heart, oh, take and seal it for thy courts above.
Thank you. That was beautiful. One of my favorites. I have the pleasure of reading some poetry to you this morning that Natalie selected. So I'm going to read to you 2 poems by Wendell Berry from Sabbath Poem. I'm going to read poem 5 and poem 2. Always in the distance, the sound of cars is passing on the road, that simplest form going only 2 ways, both ways away. And I have been there in that going. But now I rest and am a part of the form of the woods always arriving from all directions home, this cell of wild sound, the hush of the trees, singers hidden among the leaves, a form whose history is old, needful, unknown, and bright, as the history of the stars that tremble in the sky at night, like leaves of a great tree. And now the second poem. It is the destruction of the world in our own lives that drives us half insane, and more than half. To destroy that which we were given in trust, how will we bear it? It is our own bodies that we give to be broken, our bodies existing before and after us in clod and cloud, worm and tree, that we driving or driven despise in our great greed to live, our haste to die, to have lost wantonly the ancient forests, the vast grasslands is our madness, the presence in our very bones of our grief. All right, Natalie, are you ready?
Yes.
We're ready.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's so wonderful to be with you all this morning. I'm just looking around at so many familiar and beloved faces, and I'm just so grateful to be a part of this community. And thank you for welcoming me to preach today. It's really an honor. I want to begin by taking you all behind the scenes of a moment from Blue Theology. Picture this. It was a brilliantly blue morning at the end of June. The heat was just starting to sink into the sand, but for the moment, the ocean breeze was keeping us cool. Our tour guide had just told us to pause for a little while and explore the tide pools. So I hopped from rock to rock for a bit, but then I decided to find the largest pool I could and just sit above it. At first, my shadow scared the creatures that lived there. They retreated to their little corners and holes. But gradually, as my stillness set them at ease, I watched the tide pool sculpin and crabs reemerge. The sea anemone waved in the slight current. And the more I looked, the more life I saw. These creatures only come to life to those who wait. I was entranced, that feeling of bigness and smallness at the same time, showing me what can happen when we slow down and pay attention to a place on earth. I'm one of those people who has experiences like this a lot. I might be a contemplative at heart, but I think that these little moments are waiting for all of us all the time, no matter what our personalities are. Nature is there, sublime, inviting us to feel insignificant and yet so alive all at the same time. I would build my life around this feeling. I'm endlessly seeking it, traveling to the ends of the earth, quite literally as I did when I visited Ushuaia, Argentina, to be transformed by it. I'm going to New Zealand this fall for more of those experiences. But I only recently realized I've never really asked what it is about these moments that feel so profound. I know I'm connecting with the divine, but why does this particular acknowledgement of my coexisting bigness and smallness catalyze a connection to God? And how can it happen in everyday life, not just in our grand journeys into the wilderness? In trying to answer these questions of mine, it helps me to go back to the beginning. This is the story of Genesis 2. These are the generations of the heavens and the earth when they were created. In the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens, when no plant of the field was yet in the earth, and no herb of the field had yet sprung up, for the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was no one to till the ground, but a stream would rise up from the earth and water the whole face of the ground. Then the Lord God formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. And the Lord God planted a garden in Eden, in the east, and there he put the man whom he had formed. Out of the ground the Lord God made to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, and the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. A river flows out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it divides and becomes 4 branches. The name of the first is Pishon. It is the one that flows around the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold, and the gold of that land is good. Bdellium and onyx stone are there. The name of the second river is Gihon. It is the one that flows around the whole land of Cush. The name of the third river is Tigris, which flows east of Assyria. And the fourth river is the Euphrates. The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to till it and keep it. This is the word of the Lord. In the beginning, the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground. The Hebrew for the word man is Adam, and the ground that he is formed from is Adamah, the Hebrew word for soil. In the days in which this story was written, names mattered. They said something about a person's foundation and their destiny. So, in the beginning, human beings were defined by their relationship to the earth. God names us soil people. And isn't that what we are? The elements that make up our bodies were born in stars. The water that lives in us comes from the ends of the earth. The nutrients from the foods we eat sustain our tissues. And this is an important distinction. We're not only made of the land, we're made for it. In Genesis 2, God places this soil man in the garden, commanding him to till and to keep, as our translation puts it. But these Hebrew words are so much more than a simple to-do list. Avad is used throughout the Old Testament in context of service, like Joshua when he says that he and his household will serve the Lord. Shamar means to actively guard or protect from harm. The Psalms use it to describe God's jealous, meticulous protection of God's people. Human beings were made to serve and protect the land that they come from, to love the land like it is our kin. That's why I think that these moments in nature feel so profound. It's an acknowledgement of our place within it all. It's a feeling of true connectedness that we are simply designed for. Why then do these moments in our lives often feel so rare and fleeting? As the story goes on, the ground remains central to God's story, almost like a character. In Genesis 3, the ground is cursed, and Adam and Eve are sent out of the garden with the promise that they'll now toil for their food. After killing his own brother, their son Cain is driven from the ground, and the earth will no longer yield its crops for him. There's a generational pattern set in motion. God's people have a history of disconnection with the land. And are we not living that reality out today? Our society is designed to make us believe that we're separate from the created world. We don't know where our food or where our water comes from. We don't know where our waste goes. We eat chicken or beef that we don't know how to raise or take care of. Our understandings of place are so warped that we imagine cities to be entirely outside of nature, as if brick and glass and concrete and oil were not born from the earth. And this disconnectedness has had real consequences. It's allowed us to exploit the earth to cushion our own comfort and convenience. And the further that we sink into this illusion, the easier it is to believe we're not even doing harm. Meanwhile, the people around the world who still live intimately with the land, our farmers, fishers, low-lying island dwellers, are losing their livelihoods, their homes, and even their lives. The consequence of their connectedness is that they bear the scars that we've inflicted on the earth. Wound one, wound the other. Robin Wall Kimmerer, a Potawatomi biologist, says that we have a broken relationship with the land. And she also says that it's stories like Genesis that have perpetuated this brokenness. As followers of Jesus, I think we need to take real stock of where we are and how we live into systems of disconnection every day. How are we doing on the command to protect and serve the land? Do we even remember where we came from and where we are today? Have we paid attention to what the Bible tells us about who we are as soil people? So we are going to move into our time of discussion now, but it's going to be a little different than normal. A life place quiz. I was exposed to this in an environmental literature class that I took at Pepperdine, and it was an illuminating experience to say the least. And for those of you who've been out of school for a while, don't worry, it's not meant to test you in the traditional sense, but rather invite you to think a little differently about the region that you call home. You likely won't know all the answers. You might not know any at all, and that's okay. Just be present in the experience. For my first life place quiz in Malibu, I knew less than half the answers, and thinking back to my home in Carlsbad, I only knew a couple more. So you can work in teams, and for the questions that you can't answer, I would encourage you to just skip them for now, and if your group has time, you can pull out your phones and start Googling. If this isn't your home church or you're new to Harbor, you can also think about answering these questions for the place that you call home. So let's get started.
All right, thanks for making your way back.
We're almost there. Thank you guys for participating in that. I hope that it was illuminating, interesting. We're going to go briefly over the answers, but first, for our shared discussion time, we're just interested in what this experience was like for you. Like, how did it feel? What was it like working in a group? Did you learn anything about the region? Did it illuminate anything about yourself? just what were your responses to taking the Life Place quiz?
We were blessed to have Caroline, who's just like who knew many of the answers, yes. But also it's just illuminating because this is important information to know, and I feel like I'm like a informed person in life, and I didn't know most of the stuff, and it's very, it's very alarming that I don't know, and it really points to the disconnection, because I feel like climate and place and also ancestrally, like this is also my home, right? Not just Bolivia. I claim this as another home for myself, so I should know some of these things, and I don't. So it's kind of like, hey, pay attention.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I had a very similar feeling. Like, I was a sustainability student at school. Like, I feel like I'm the one who's supposed to know the answers to these questions. And when I took it and I didn't know the answers, it was like it woke up something in me. Anyone else?
I heard a little bit of like, I am wrong, but you sound critical of yourself that you don't know this. And I think that's okay. And I also think we were not taught this. We do not live, I don't know, in a society that nurtures this kind of connection. So, I mean, I guess I just want to, like, as someone who's also hard on myself, like, I want, like, there's reasons we all don't know these really basic kinds of things. And I guess it's like to be angry at that, I guess, as opposed to like pour it on ourselves, I guess. I'm just thinking about that.
I like that.
No, thank you so much for sharing that. Because I feel like one of the things I wanted to articulate is like this exercise isn't meant to like shame people or be like, how many answers do you know versus that person? And like, but yeah, like we have to go way out of our way to seek education in this. Like even as a sustainability student, it's not just like given to me. I have to go and find it. Like that does say something about the society, not just our ignorance or like our not wanting to know these things.
Anybody else want to share? Vinny.
We learned as a group that pretty much most of us don't know which direction is north.
But we do have apps on our phone that help us figure that out. And that was kind of a funny one. We kept getting it wrong too. Then we figured it out.
Seaton.
Anyone else? Seaton, and then Ryan.
It was really interesting in our group because 3 of us have a special knowledge in certain areas. I know a lot about the native people of this area, and Eric is an avid bird watcher, and Brian also has done a lot of work with the physical land in this area. So we were able to answer about 70% of the questions, I would say, but there's still a lot of stuff that we didn't know. But it was very interesting to share knowledge with each other that the other didn't really know. And so overall, I think we all learned a lot just teaching things to each other in our own group.
I love that.
I love that. Sharing knowledge, teaching each other.
I like the question about where our food comes from, because who the heck knows where our food comes from, you know? Because, like, you buy a box of Cheez-Its, I have no idea where that stuff came from to make it. For instance, and then I was talking about, Sadie, you remember this, when we were in San Francisco and we were on the pier and we were getting our clam chowder and we were thinking, oh, it's made on site and it's fresh. They're pouring Campbell's soup in the back. And I'm like, oh. So the truth is, we have no idea, for the most part, where our food comes from. So I found that depressing and illuminating.
Yeah, I feel like some of these questions are almost like trick questions because we can't 100% find out the answer. I spent a long time actually trying to research where the trash from Harbor goes, and it's still a little bit of a question mark for me, honestly.
Bonita Canyon, so we'll check that out. and
Bonita
see.
Canyon. I'm going to have to correct that, actually. I wrote the wrong thing.
Did anyone on Zoom want to share anything about their process as a group? We'll give you a second to unmute.
Can you all hear me?
Yes,
Hello.
we can hear you.
Okay. We had a great discussion today. Janelle had a lot of information on Costa Mesa and Newport Beach. Matt is great. He's king of Google, so he shared a lot of information and he was able to research on the spot. It's fun to learn. I shared a little bit about what I know of Las Vegas, because this is where I live, and I Googled some of the answers. Janelle and I probably share a lot of the answers because we're only 2 hours away from each other. This was a really fun exercise.
Oh, I'm so glad, Annabelle. That's great, thank you.
All right.
Anybody else? Okay. Can you show us our answers?
Yes, we can go to the answers, which, disclaimer, some of them could be incorrect, as I already found the landfill might not have been totally accurate, because this is what I've mostly found on the internet. But yeah, so our ancestral lands are the Tonga and Ahachiman lands. Did anyone know that? Seton, yeah. Yeah, we got some hands. Okay, our watershed is Newport Bay watershed. Did we get that one? Some of us, maybe? Santa Ana River? I don't know. When I was Googling, I saw the Newport Bay watershed, but it could be the Santa Ana as well. Is the soil correct, Caroline? You're a soil expert, right?
I'm not a soil expert. I would have said clay and loamy sand.
Okay, great. Yeah, and the food question, it really does come from all around the world. Maybe if you're shopping locally at a farmer's market, it might be from the region, but maybe, as Ryan said, maybe not. The landfill, I was already corrected on that. What did you say it was again? Bonita Canyon. Bonita Canyon.
They closed Bonita Canyon a long time ago.
Listen.
Okay. Do we have any native plant people in the room? Yeah, Caroline, what are some of the plants?
Do you mean plant guilds?
Maybe. This quiz was...
Associations? Like, we have sycamore, we've got alders, we've got oaks, we've got cottonwood and elder and lemonade berry, and I mean, we're coastal sage scrub, so we've got sumac and white sage and Cleveland sage and buckwheat, and you know, here we have brackish water, so we've got the pickleweed and we've got the saltgrass and we've got, like, you know, I mean, we have so many different things just right here,
Yeah.
like Irvine, Newport, Costa Mesa.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we have...
Oh God, so much Brazilian pepper.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to climate change, how it affects our bioregion. In a lot of ways, for sure. I feel like one of the main ones that we talk about on the coast is sea level rise, erosion, flooding, that kind of thing, but also increased temperatures and heat waves, as some of us may have felt this summer. And also just the ways that we contribute through pollution, that kind of thing. We can move on to the next slide. The primary ecological event from my vague research was a river/flooding event. And then, okay, yes, I'm getting a thumbs up from Caroline. And then we have some bird lovers in the room as well. I listed some that I found, but there's so many. Does anyone have a favorite bird in the area? Barn owl. Awesome. And, sorry, is it Eric?
I like the black-crowned night heron.
The black-crowned night heron, is that what you said? Awesome. Thank you, guys. All right, let's all point north.
That's only because you look good.
Okay, great. Thank you guys so much for participating in this exercise. Clearly, I also don't know all the answers, and I feel like it just goes to show that we have so much to learn, and that we're all in this together. I love that we used our communal wisdom to answer the questions more accurately. But I hope that this illustrates the foundational truth that we need to be rerouted, that we've forgotten where we come from. And who knows that you can't love something unless you know it? The average American child spends 30 minutes or less playing outside and more than 7 hours in front of a screen a day on average. So no wonder so many people either refuse to believe in climate change or they're overwhelmed by how dire it is because we're trying to fight a battle without knowing what we're really fighting for. And so rather than becoming overwhelmed by diet changes and greening spaces and then giving up, I think that we need to re-find the heart of our conviction to change in the first place. We need to remember that we're soil people. In spending time with Blue Theology groups this summer, I began to recognize that it's countercultural to ask the youth to put away their distractions and engage deeply in their natural environment. But once they did, I got to watch new love blossom in front of their eyes. They were connected with who they were created to be. We got to see and touch and learn about the captivating creatures that live right in our backyard in the Back Bay. We built relationship with them, with each other, and with the earth, and the Spirit of God was found dwelling there. When we reconnect with our intended purpose to love and protect creation, we're reestablishing the garden on earth as it is in heaven. And it was this kind of love that protected the Back Bay right behind the church. It was supposed to be fully developed. Can you imagine that for a second? That instead of looking out onto the beautiful bay, you would see condos and boats and docks. But a single couple who wanted their son and their neighbors to be able to continue enjoying that space took on one of the biggest corporations in California. Their love overflowed. It was infectious, and it drew others into the cause. So many people are trying to fight climate change today with anger and scare tactics and blame. But who knows that we run out of steam the second that we lose our life source? So if you're feeling overwhelmed or lost in the midst of all of the chaos of the world today, I have a simple piece of advice. Before you grit your teeth and force your way into change, or worse, you pretend that climate change isn't happening at all, just put your feet on the ground and remember who you are as a soil person. Maybe step onto the sand at the beach, or step just outside of the church building today and turn your face towards the sun. Slow down enough to truly see the world around you. Notice where you're standing and recognize that you're nested within rings of community, both human and non-human, each larger than the next. Did you know that the average height of a human being is almost exactly the mean of the smallest and biggest measurable things in the universe? I think that's why we feel so big and so small at the same time. God intended us to be right in the thick of the created world. Blaise Pascal writes, "For after all, what is a man in nature? A nothing compared to the infinite, a whole compared to the nothing, a middle point between all and nothing." Live into your created purpose. Feel that sense of rightness that washes over you as you acknowledge your place. That day at the tide pools, I was so spellbound by that little ecosystem in front of me that I didn't even notice 3 or 4 students that had wandered up behind me, peering over my shoulder to see what I was staring at. They seemed confused. It just looked like a bowl of seawater nestled into the rock. But I smiled and I told them, just wait and watch and you'll see so much more. Sometimes we have to give ourselves a little time for our eyes to adjust, for our minds to recognize the change. But trust me, it's working in your heart, even if it's in a secret place. I have countless memories of childhood adventures in the woods and in the ocean that have entirely shaped my being. They might have seemed insignificant at the time, especially the tiresome hikes where I kept up an endless stream of complaints. But I am who I am today, someone who, for the record, seeks out a hike any chance I get because of that foundation. It may seem hard to believe that these simple moments could be enough to spark a world of change. But Dostoevsky says, all is like an ocean. All is flowing and blending. a touch in one place sets up movement at the other end of the earth. It's what the students and I saw when we stood still long enough to look at the tide pools in front of us. When we live as if this were true, we're living as we were designed to live. When we live as if this were true, we're building gardens and bringing Eden back to us and heaven down. This is salvation, a right ordering of things where our love and connection to all of creation drives us to take action to right the broken relationship that we have with the world. And the Bible middles, begins, and ends with this picture of salvation. In Genesis, human beings were crafted from the soil. God breathed life into us and gave us a garden. God then commanded the soil people to serve and protect it, to draw out its potential and cultivate flourishing. We only have to look around at our society today to realize that we haven't quite lived up to the job description. But as much as we might relate to Cain, the restless wanderer estranged from the earth, I take comfort in the words from Martin Luther King Jr. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. We might not be able to see the end as it curves out of sight, but restoration is a live and active invitation. When teaching his disciples to pray, Jesus instructs them to ask that the kingdom would come on earth as it is in heaven, here and now. In the midst of it all, Jesus is inviting us to be his partners, God's soil people, today. This is our origin, and it's our destiny. It's where we come from, and it's the vision of our future. The new heaven and new earth of Revelation has rivers and trees. Revelation 22:2 says the leaves of the trees are for the healing of the nations. Jesus asks us to be his co-workers in healing, but I think that we'll find that it's we who are healed in the process. So we have our invitation into God's big story. So let's make our earth look like Eden again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Natalie. While our praise team gets settled for Be Thou My Vision, I did want to say a few things to Natalie. I knew that at the beginning of summer when I heard we'd get a Blue Theology intern, that we would get a pair of hands, thoughts, and a heart to help, which was already a blessing. But I didn't know I'd end this summer with a new dear friend. Thank you, Natalie, for showing up so fully and connecting so deeply with our community. Blue Theology is forever changed and impacted by your gifts, your talents, and time. I know you have a few adventures already planned in the near future and are figuring out exactly what you'll do next, but I know that no matter what that turns out to be, it will be centered in bettering our world, being the hands, the feet, and the eyes of God. You've said that ministries like Blue Theology give you hope for our planet, but it's people with hearts like yours that give us hope in return. This song and version of Be Thou My Vision with Unitarian Universalist lyrics was sung on one of your first Sundays, if not the first Sunday, so it felt fitting to close out your time with us in your official capacity. We hope you come back. The lyrics are centered on earth, justice, and our role in it. And congregation, the very final verse of this song, I'm going to ask us to stand and sing it very loud and proud. And I offer those words on that last verse, Natalie, as a prayer, a send-off prayer, to cover you in your next steps, no matter where they lead.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow. as love shows us how. Wake now, my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim who quests for the truth. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer the limit and praise the sublime.
Wake now, my conscience, with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race.
Please stand and let's all sing these last words and surround Natalie in their beautiful sound.
Wake now, my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work toward a planet transformed by our care.
Please be seated.
Thank you to our praise team for that beautiful tribute to Natalie and her work with us. Looks like we've got another message for you, Natalie. Thank you. Yeah, we do. And as I'm listening to Natalie and I'm listening to all of you have your conversation, I'm a little emotional, honestly, because my whole life, my heart has beat with an ecological spirituality. I knew God before my family ever took me to church because I could see the flowers and the trees. I could plant my feet in the earth. And because my family has a deep connection, as you all know, to the Sierra Nevada mountain range, and we visited there every year. And I was held by the earth. And I was always very aware that this is the gospel right here. This is how we know God, by putting our feet in the ground and looking around and seeing, like Natalie at the tide pool, a little more deeply. And so here we are, 7 years into my ministry here at Harbor, just a few months into Natalie's time with us, and we are arriving at the place where we're making explicit the implicit knowing that is in each one of us, that we are the earth is us, and when we learn to tend ourselves and each other, that translates out into this beautiful place we all call home. And that's connected here to this table, because each one of us plays a part. We are an ecosystem too. And when we gather around the table and we lay on the table who we are and what we have to share and offer, that's how we build God's community. That's how we build God's kingdom here on earth. And so I'm just honored to be here with all of you, Natalie, with your work this summer, which was really profound, but with the work of this community too, because we're learning, we're growing, we're evolving what it means to be Spirit-led people. And I'm adding to that today to be soil people also, because in our humanity, we find that connection between the soil and the divine, and that's where we are. So thank you to Natalie and each one of you. And let's just really take some time to see ecological spirituality here at this table, where Jesus first gathered with his disciples. Each one had a gift to bring. They didn't all have all of it. Just like Seton shared, that we were piecing together our knowledge, and then we were able to find most of the information that we needed. That is what the disciples do. We are disciples here, and we are truly, truly working for the betterment of this amazing gift of the earth that we have been given. So thank you. And I would now like to invite forward, is it you, Caroline, to read our invitation to the table? And I want you to hear our invitation. We're going to change it up starting next week, but this will be our last time of hearing this invitation for a while. And as Caroline reads it, I want you to hear it, that this extends to the earth. This extends to the things beyond the human community.
We gather around a lot of tables in this world, and each of them has a different hold on us. At the lunch table, we see our friends, but we may also see our insecurity. At the conference table, we may dream big dreams, but we also may see competition or fear. At the family table, we see love and laughter and conversation, but we also may see seats that are empty or hear silence that feels lonely. We gather around a lot of tables in this world, but there is none like this one. Here at this table, we can bring the different pieces of ourselves, our dreams and our joy, our fear and our insecurity, our pain and our hurt, and they will be welcomed. Here at this table, we show up hungry and we always leave fed. Here at this table, we are met by a God who says, come in, the food is ready, the table is set, this chair has your name on it. We've been waiting just for you. Friends, there are a lot of tables in this world, but there is none like this one. We have a seat saved for you. Come.
Thank you. So as Caroline is preparing to serve you all communion, because we have a few new people here today, you are all invited to share in communion with us. There's no tests or fences around this table. Come forward when you feel ready. Take your communion back to your seat, and then we will share in it all together. When you're ready, come forward. I'm going to do that when we do it together. So on that night, Jesus gathered with his dear friends and disciples, and he took the bread, and he blessed it, and he broke it, saying, "This is my body, broken for each one of you. Take and eat, all of you. And then Jesus took the cup, and he blessed it, and he poured it out, saying, "This is the cup of the new covenant, poured out for the forgiveness of sin. And every time you eat this bread, every time you drink from this cup, you proclaim who I am until I come again." Will you please join me in the Lord's Prayer? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Thank you. All right, we have a couple of announcements for you. All of our gatherings are on this week. So we have our youth group after church. We have our Tuesday Bible study, Tuesday women's group, Wednesday men's group, and our music rehearsal. So all of those are happening this week. You'll see information about them in your Sunday email with details and times and Zoom links. Next one. We have our congregational meeting following church today. All of you are welcome to stay. We're going to have pizza. We're going to hear Natalie share a little about the presentation she made for us to communicate better about what Blue theology is. Please remember, this is an evolving and growing program, but we have some really great resources this year that Natalie helped us to develop that she's going to share with us after. We also are going to be sharing with you the very hard-fought curriculum that Ryan and I have been working on all year long for Blue Theology. You will see our student guides, and you'll also see the leader guides. They'll be kind of around. We didn't print too many because we don't want to waste paper, but we will be sharing those with you as well after church today. And then we're going to do a vote for our budget for the upcoming year and also our nomination slate for new leadership within the church community. So that's what's going to be happening after church. For those of you who are members, you are able to vote. If you are not a member, you're able to stay, have an opinion, share what you want to share, but you just can't vote. Sorry about that. We'd love to have you join as members, and then you can have that really important vote. Next announcement.
Pastor Sadie?
Yeah.
For those on Zoom who want to stay, they can stay on.
Yeah, stay on. If you would like to join us, Zoom will be able to keep you on, okay? All right, next one. OC Pride volunteer meeting is going to be September 1st. We talked about this last week. The staff really needs this to be a much more heavy volunteer-led event this year. So after church next week, is that next week already? My goodness. After church next week, we're going to be having a meeting where we're all going to talk about how we're going to show up at OC Pride. And please, if you would like for us to do this, please show up because we really do need some support this year. It's a big haul, and we need more people doing it this year than our wonderful and hardworking but not large staff. And this is Lauren. I'm going to let you talk a little bit about this.
So, perfect timing with Macy's wonderful mission moment today. My good friend and past college roommate, Kevin Fan, is a music director at a church in Yorba Linda and approached me about doing a combination choral event and short concert in late October centered around the themes of peace, unity, and love. Their community is specifically hosting this because of the upcoming election season and hosting or putting this on and with music to hold space for just reminding us of where our hearts should be centered during that time. So for anyone who does want a space in the upcoming season centered around those themes, this would be great. We are going to bring back choir and rehearse mainly here at Harbor, not in Yorba Linda, here at Harbor, and then we will have a few short rehearsals in late October up at Yorba Linda, so there's really no travel. The first bit to make it easy for us is going to be rehearsals on Sundays for 30 minutes following service through September. So right after this, next week, right before the OC Pride volunteer meeting, we'll have a quick touch base for any questions. You do not need to have musical training for this, but because this will be a little bit more of a traditional feel, my friend Kevin is a wildly talented organist, so this will have organ involved. I think there's talks of a string quartet, so this is a little bit more of a formal choral event with music and things like that. So high school age and up are what we would suggest as far as participation. But a actual rehearsal schedule on little half sheets are over here in Ackelson. Please pick them up. Not all of the events are mandatory, but next week, if anyone has any questions, that's when we'll answer them.
Thank you. I'm excited about this. And then, of course, we'll have a big show of the rest of us going on the 26th to watch our community join with this Presbyterian church. Was that it for? Yep, that is it. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to you all.
Please stand for our closing hymn.
Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God our Creator, children all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me, let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me.
Well, my prayer for you all this week is that you, and I've had this prayer many times, that you take off your shoes and you stand on holy ground and you remind yourself that you are part of an earth community that is more than the humans that lovingly surround you. Alleluia, amen. Thank you for joining us. Take a quick break, and then we will have some food coming out at some point, and we will be gathering back here in just a few moments to hear a little more from Natalie, me, and Ryan around Blue Theology, and then to have our congregational votes. Thank you.